Why were social media posts falsely calling you Indigenous left up right even till the present day?
I don't have an answer for why that's still on that party website, Mr. Genuous.
Mr. Genuous.
Uh-oh.
Mr. Boissonneau, you said today that you came to the term non-status adopted Cree through consultation with an Indigenous researcher. What was the name of that researcher?
I met with Chad Cowie, who was a student.
Thank you very much. We know. Thank you. We know who Mr. Cowie is, Professor Cowie is. In an interview with the National Post, Professor Cowie denied your version of events. The National Post quotes him as saying, "I would not say that I gave him the term that he was non-status adopted Cree." Did Professor Cowie tell the truth to the National Post, and do you now want to correct your opening statement?
My opening statement was very clear, Mr. Genuous. I said that I chose the term non-status adopted Cree after having a conversation with Mr. Cowie. That conversation was almost 3 years ago.
So now it's clearer than it was. So you sat down with Professor Cowie, and he gave you some advice. You ignored that advice and came up with this term independently on your own. And then you came back to committee and said, well, in the context of conversation, I came up with this term.
Call 911. I just saw a guy get slaughtered.
I guess my appearance at committee's not going very well today.
Oh, man.
All right, so if I understand this correctly, Boissonneau goes to this professor and he's like, so, like, I want to give myself a cool label. I don't want it to be like Ray's horse's tail or anything like that. I want it to be like something neat that I can tell people at parties. And the the advice was probably like, I wouldn't give yourself a label. Okay, cool. So I'm going to give myself this non-status adopted Cree. Like, what? What? You don't get... Well, this is the problem on the far left. They just invent things to call themselves.
Because, again, it's all about, like, who's the most oppressed? Who has the most oppression points? Who's the most DEI? Like, it's just... It's all about identity. It's not who you are as a person, is in what personality traits do you possess? Are you a kind person? Are you a hard worker? Are you dedicated? Doesn't matter. It's quantifiable things like, what color is your skin? Are you straight? Are you not straight? Are you a male? Are you a female? Are you something else? Etc.
Oh my goodness.
Frankly, that's what we've come to expect from you, Mr. Boissonneau. But I think it's now further revelation of what we have come to expect. My next question is: the Liberal Party's Indigenous Peoples Commission put up an Instagram post on June 30th, 2016, which falsely claimed that you were Indigenous. Now that post is still up. You said the error was corrected. Why were social media posts falsely calling you Indigenous left up right even till the present day?
I don't have an answer for why that's still on that party website, Mr. Genuous. I can tell you.
Whoops.
I guess my appearance at committee's not going very well today.
Oh, man. Okay, to be fair, though, he can't keep tabs on absolutely every single thing that the caucus posts about him. But
his staff is supposed to.
Is that their job?
His staff is supposed to know what is being posted, and if they don't know what the party is posting about him, 8 years later.
Well, I was going to say, you can pay companies to like run social media searches about you, and then if you're like, oh, this is still up on the Liberals Instagram page, well, I need to have them take that down. Like, that's a thing you can pay for.
It's just, yeah.
When I was on a list of Indigenous candidates in the 2019 election, I acted very quickly and removed that.
Okay. So let's just get some clarity on what you meant when you said that the error was corrected. So there was an error in a June 30th, 2016 Instagram post. That error was not corrected. The post remains up today in December of 2024. What exactly did you mean when you said the error was corrected?
Mr. Genuous, I wasn't aware of that 2016 Instagram post. I was referring to the list of Indigenous candidates in 2019 that I was falsely on and made that correct. And the error.
Okay. So you corrected a list in 2019 apparently, but you and your team are not closely monitoring the social media activity of the party that you're a part of.
And there you go. But I have a question. Why would the Liberal Party have the false impression that he was Indigenous to the point where they put him on a Indigenous candidate list? Randy?
Part of me wants to say it's because he gave them that false impression, and part of me wants to say it's because the Liberal Party again is obsessed with identity. They want to trot out, look at our caucus. It's made up of all these diverse people. You know, it's not just white dudes like the Conservative caucus, which it's not, but like that's the line they use, right? But they're obsessed with identity.
But this is the point. How else would they have got, like, if you just saw Randy Boissonnault walking down the street, you'd be like, that guy's a white dude.
Right, and
so how would they have gotten that impression? Right? I'm not saying that Randy went up and told them he was Indigenous. I'm saying Randy, through his speeches, was like, I'm very proud of my Cree heritage, and I'm very proud of, my grandmother, who was a full-blooded Cree woman, and, Indigenous heritage is really important to me. Like, when all you say is that, and you don't follow it up with, by the way, I'm adopted, by the way, I'm a white boy, what do you think people are going to think? Like, and Cooper's sitting behind him just saying,
what the hell is going on?
Oh, I forgot he was here today. I can't wait.
He's coming, folks. He's coming.
Excellent.
It's the false claim that the Liberals elected 9 Indigenous MPs in 2015. Was that false claim ever used in Liberal Party fundraising?
I don't have that information in front of me, and I would not be on that list of candidates.
Okay, so maybe we need to follow up and see how much money the Liberal Party raised off the false claim that there were 9 Indigenous MPs elected in their caucus in 2015. Mr. Boissonnault, you have said repeatedly that you've never claimed Indigenous status. And it should be obvious to everyone that that is an intentional formulation when you say you've never claimed Indigenous status, because that is not the same thing as saying you've never claimed to be Indigenous. A person might claim to be Indigenous without claiming Indigenous status. So let's get around the lawyerly formulation here and ask you the core question. Have you ever claimed to be Indigenous?
Mr. Genuous, I'm not Indigenous, and I've never claimed to be Indigenous or to have Indigenous status. This is a distinction. I'm not sure where we're going with this, but I'm not Indigenous. I don't have Indigenous status, and I've never claimed either.
Genuous has something. I bet he's got something. He wouldn't ask that question otherwise.
Well, put it this way. The Conservatives have proven themselves to not be dim-witted. They're not just going to sit there and say, okay, so let's dispense with the lawyer speak, and now you can come clean. Have you ever said that have you ever claimed that you were Indigenous? Oh, I prostrate myself before the committee. Yes, I have claimed to be Indigenous. They know he's not going to do that. So I'm assuming that, like many times before, and like the other Conservatives, there's a reason they're asking this question.
You've never claimed to be Indigenous. So on April the 12th, 2016, when you said in the House of Commons that as a Canadian and as an adopted Cree, you weren't claiming to be Indigenous. When the Liberal Party of Canada posted that you were Indigenous and it was not corrected, you still had never claimed to be Indigenous. When your partner claimed that your company was Indigenous owned, you had still never claimed to be Indigenous. There are all these people around you that have publicly claimed that you are Indigenous. You have said in the House of Commons that you're Indigenous, and now you're before this committee saying that you never did. How can anyone believe anything you say, Mr. Boissonneau?
Mr. Generous, I've never claimed to be Indigenous. What I said in the
it's on the record.
House was that that is not. You're misinterpreting the record.
Okay,
We'll
let Mr. Boissonneau answer the question, and then that's
I've misinterpreted
How many seconds do I have, Mr. Chair?
You can answer the question, and that'll be the end of this round.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Chair, I have never indicated to the Liberal Party of Canada that I'm Indigenous, full stop. And I tried to come up with a term that I now understand was not clear. For the record, I'm not Indigenous. I don't have Indigenous status, and I would not claim either.